A man sits at a small table. In the last 4 minutes, he has checked his breath 3 times. He is scanning for red flags. He has rehearsed a story about his job that makes it sound more interesting than it actually is. He believes he is being modern. He believes that romance is something humans invented, somewhere between the printing press and the scented candle. He is wrong. Everything he is doing right now, the grooming, the performing, the quiet, low-grade terror, is a script. And the script is roughly 300,000 years old. He thinks he is on a date. Biologically speaking, he is auditioning. The same auditions were held on the Pleistocene savannah, just with worse lighting and a higher chance of being eaten halfway through. Our ancestors didn't have dating profiles. They had survival profiles, which mostly consisted of, I have a cave, I can kill a deer, and I don't have many parasites. We have simply replaced the deer with a job title and the parasites with a skincare routine. The anxiety is identical. The man checking his breath is not a free agent. He is the latest finalist in an unbroken competition that has never once stopped running. To understand the man at the table, we have to ask a slightly awkward question. What kind of ape is he? Because the apes had options. Chimpanzees run on a system best described as everyone, more or less with everyone. There are no couples. There is only the group. Gorillas chose the opposite. One enormous alpha male, a harem of females, and a great deal of intimidating chest work to keep it that way. So, which were we? Helpfully, the body keeps the receipt. The clue is something called sexual dimorphism, the size gap between males and females. In gorillas, the male is roughly twice the size of the female, because he had to be. His entire strategy was winning fights against other males. In species where everyone mates freely, the males evolve other, less dignified equipment we won't dwell on. Humans land in the middle and slightly boring zone. Our males are larger than our females, but only modestly, not gorilla tier, not anywhere close. We were never built to be lone tyrants fighting off rivals for a harem. And that mild, unremarkable size gap points to a third strategy entirely: pair bonding. The teamwork approach. 2 apes, deciding that the brutal arithmetic of raising a fragile, enormous-headed human infant was simply more survivable as a duo than as a solo act. Romance, it turns out, began as a logistics decision. Here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. In almost every other mammal, fertility is a public announcement. A chimpanzee female advertises her fertile window with dramatic, unmistakable swelling. The signal is loud, visible, and completely honest. Everyone knows. There is no ambiguity, and crucially, there is no reason for a male to stick around once the window closes. Human females do none of this. Human fertility is hidden, concealed even in many cases from the woman herself. There is no flag, no signal, no billboard. And evolutionary biologists think this silence was not an accident. It may have been one of the most consequential biological hacks in our history. Think about it from the male's grim strategic point of view. If he cannot tell when a female is fertile, then his only viable strategy, if he wants to be a parent at all, is to stay constantly. To hang around, to provide, to invest, not for one loud week, but indefinitely. Hidden ovulation quietly deleted the option of leaving. And in deleting that option, it may have invented fatherhood. Not the biological act. That part is old news, but the commitment. The male who stays, who provides, who protects the offspring he is now reasonably sure, are his. An entire emotional institution, possibly born from a single, elegant evolutionary refusal to share information. So our ancestors paired up. But pairing up means choosing, and choosing means being chosen. The question becomes, what were they actually selecting for? The obvious answer is muscles, strength, symmetry, the ability to wrestle dinner. And yes, that mattered. But it cannot be the whole story, because if survival were purely about brute force, we would not have evolved into the strange, soft, joke-telling creatures we are. This is the peacock problem. A peacock's tail is absurd. It is heavy, it is loud, it actively makes him slower and easier to eat. And that is precisely the point. The tail is a costly signal. It says, I am so healthy, so genetically robust, that I can afford to carry this ridiculous thing around and still survive. Wastefulness, paradoxically, is the advertisement. Now apply that to the human brain. The leading idea here is creative intelligence as a mating display. Art, music, storytelling, humor. None of these directly kill a mammoth, but all of them require an expensive, high-functioning, well-fed brain to produce. The cave painter, the singer, the one who could make the group laugh around the fire, they were not just entertaining. They were running a live demonstration of cognitive fitness. Every joke was, in a sense, a tale being fanned, which means the man at the table, rehearsing his charming anecdote, is doing something deeply ancestral. He is fanning. Badly, perhaps, but fanning. For roughly 300,000 years, this system ran on mutual choice. Then, about 12,000 years ago, we invented farming, and we accidentally rewrote the entire arrangement. Before agriculture, you could not really own much. You moved, you carried, you shared, because hoarding was pointless. But farming created something new and dangerous. Surplus, land, stored grain, property that could be passed down. And the moment property could be inherited, a brand new and very anxious question appeared. Who, precisely, inherits it? This is where mating quietly stopped being a romance and became a contract. Paternity certainty went from a private male preference to an economic necessity. If a man's land and grain were to pass only to his children, he needed an absolute guarantee of who those children were. And so marriage as a legal and property institution, with rules, with witnesses, with consequences, was essentially invented to lock that guarantee in place. Love may or may not have been present. The paperwork, however, was now mandatory. Mating had become a strategic alliance between households, with the bedroom annexed by the accountant. Step back and look at the full chain. Every single one of your ancestors, without one exception, stretching back across ice ages, famines, predators, plagues, and an unbroken series of deeply awkward social encounters, succeeded at this game. Every one of them got chosen. Every one of them passed the audition. You are not the product of the lucky. You are the product of the finalists. An unbroken winning streak of 300,000 years ends, specifically, in you. Which is a strange thing to remember while you are checking your breath for the fourth time. We built cities, we built language, we built the entire internet, and we are still underneath all of it, just savannah apes, trying to feel a little less alone. The hardware has not changed, only the lighting. So perhaps take some comfort in this. Your ancestors had to track, corner, and physically defeat a woolly mammoth just to qualify for a conversation like this one. You only have to think of a second interesting thing to say. Honestly, we got the easy version.